And in my relationship, if I'm going back and forth, but yet I'm always right, then there will be a standstill. Because you're always right. No, you're born in sin, shaped in iniquity. Surely you're going to be wrong. By withholding, the abuser is saying, I have something you want, and I can withhold it from you. That's why all personalities have their positives and negatives. One of the dangers of the introvert is that when you shut down, you withhold from your loved one. Go off in your corner. They might need to cuddle. But you're so upset, angry, you're going to withhold, and you're going to use that. Come on, y'all. You know that we do it. For those of us who come down and we wait for them to grovel and say, I'm sorry and plead, and then we'll open up. That's abuse. It's withholding. And we like to say, well, I'm an introvert. That's just the way I am. Doesn't make it right, though. Verbal abuse disguised as a joke. The abuser is saying, I feel up by putting you down. It's an insecure person who has to lift himself up or herself up by putting somebody else down. Baby, I was just playing when I was talking about your weight. Or, honey, I was just playing when I talked about your job. I've learned this. There is always a little bit of truth in every joke. By discounting your partner's perceptions, the abuser is saying, I can decree the worthlessness of your perceptions and actions. That's discounting feelings. That's discounting what they say. It's another way of saying, I'm better and smarter than you. Let's go to some more categories of verbal abuse. More categories of verbal abuse. I'm telling you, after hearing some of these, I'd rather you just punch me in the arm. Or hit me in the face. Now, they're all wrong, but are you seeing what this can do to a person? Trivializing, pretending that your partner's perceptions or opinions are less than what they are, making you feel insignificant. And that's what verbal abuse and emotional abuse does. Makes you feel insignificant. Therefore, when I start hitting on you, you don't have any self-worth. So you can hit on somebody who's insignificant. Let's go to another. Judging and criticizing. The abuser tells you what is wrong with your thoughts and actions. I am in control of I am in control of you, they say. And look at this. I'm saying what is wrong with your thoughts and actions. I know what's wrong. Maybe you're misunderstanding them. But don't tell me they're wrong till you hear the whole story. But the abuser doesn't need the story because he already has everything on lockdown. Let's go to another one. Forgetting. When the abuser regularly forgets appointments, agreements, or incidents, they are saying, I am in control of your time. Baby, I thought you were going to be home for dinner at 6 o'clock. Oh, I just want to be with the boys. Controlling your time. Honey, don't you remember that when we said this and you went that way? No, I don't remember any of it. And think about it. In your arguments, don't you get stuck if they say they don't remember? And then guess what happens when they don't remember? You lose, even though it's not a matter of who's in control, but look who now gains all of the control. Because you can't accuse me and deal with something that I'm choosing to forget. Name calling. The abuser is saying that you do not exist. You are now blank. And so what I do is I don't call you by your name. I call you by something else. And whatever I call you now defines you. And that is why, listen to me carefully. Yes, we're talking about relationships, but in God's house, God's children together, if it's one thing that we all not do is call one another names. Because what you're saying is you're no longer Michael, you're what I'm calling you, and I'm defining you by that, and I'm looking at you by that. The person becomes blank. And if you can think back, there are some things that you have said to people you love or about people inside of this church, in your family, and you can't take it back. And when you call them that or say that, whether it's to their face or around other people, it says that's what you think they are. And shame on us. And I'm going to say this now, Black History Month, especially African Americans ought to understand how words hurt. All that gossip foolishness and calling sister so-and-so this and brother so-and-so that. That is a sin and it's abuse. Let's go to the last one. I think that might have been it. That's it. Let me wrap this thing up. Got part 2 next week. I ain't even touched Simeon and Levi's story yet because I had to deal with this. Because this is happening. It's happening in our families. Now, some of us don't know. Linda, if you could get ready to play, man, and also if you know Jesus, there's just something about their name. You can play that and get ready to sing it for me. Physical abuse, any type of abuse, is diabolical and sinful. It wrecks God's children. What we have seen today, and it's not even the tip of the iceberg, is what some of us, listen to me carefully, church, have done to people in our lives. Knowingly, in some cases, unknowingly in others. But now we're not ignorant anymore. I'm going to provide to you some specific ways of help and signs next week. I have time to do that today. I'm going to provide you some specific, even more than this, signs and help next week. Because this stuff requires more than prayer. Follow me? It requires more than prayer. Prayer works, but some of the stuff you can't just sit around and pray away. Specific help we're going to get now. The reason for all of this, the reason that this takes place, if you really think about it, all of us have been in a relationship. Let me shut this off right now. I'm on white. All of us have been in a relationship where we've been called a name, haven't we? Yeah. And we've just kind of, they were just upset. We've been in a relationship where people have discounted our feelings. And you got to ask yourself, and if you're really honest, when we leave that one, we find somebody else who does the same thing, except sometimes worse. And we put up with it. And because you're married and made a vow before God, I'm not talking about divorce, doesn't mean you got to put up with it. Male or female, it's got some. But I'll tell you the main reason why we put up with it. And Willie Lynch in 1712 understood why. I can break your mind down. And I will take away every ounce of self-esteem that you got. And that's what emotional and verbal abuse does. It sucks you of your self-esteem. But I want to tell you something, folks. I don't believe in self-esteem. What are you talking about, Pastor? Didn't you study psychology? What are you talking about? Self-esteem is important, self-actualization and all that good stuff. I don't believe in self-esteem. What I believe in is Jesus' esteem. Because you see, Colossians 2 and verse 10 says, you are complete in Jesus. Are you listening to me, church? See, the world can take away self-esteem, but it can't take away Jesus' esteem. See, you can talk about me all you want. Listen to me carefully. You can tear me down piece by piece, but it doesn't matter what my wife thinks. And Tia, I love you, baby. Doesn't matter what my church thinks. Doesn't matter what all the people think about me. What matters is what Jesus thinks about me. And if Jesus thought enough about me to die for me, I've got value. Don't care if you tell me. I'm not going to allow somebody to suck every ounce out of me. They can't touch Jesus' esteem. But in order to have Jesus' esteem, you must have Jesus.